Deep in Zimbabwe's remote valleys lives a tribe whose feet look like no others on Earth. A genetic mystery that's both celebrated and misunderstood, revealing profound truths about isolation, adaptation, and what it truly means to be different. Have you ever wondered what happens when a community lives in complete isolation for generations? In the remote valleys of northern Zimbabwe, there's a tribe whose feet look so different that scientists initially thought they were seeing a completely different species. And the most shocking part isn't the condition itself, but how this community has transformed what the outside world calls a disability into something they consider perfectly normal. Before we explore this incredible story, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from and how the weather is treating you today. Let me know how you're doing. Most people assume that genetic conditions are always disabilities, that physical differences always limit abilities. But what if there's a tribe in Zimbabwe where a significant number of people are born with only 2 toes on each foot, giving them an ostrich-like appearance, and they've never considered it a problem? A community where this condition has existed so long that it's simply part of who they are. Today, I'm taking you to the Zambezi River Valley in northern Zimbabwe to meet the VaDoma people, also called the Doma or Bantwana tribe. Their story will challenge everything you understand about genetics, isolation, and what we define as normal. The VaDoma live primarily in the Hurung and Chipuro districts of northern Zimbabwe, nestled in the remote basins of the Modernization River, a tributary of the Zambezi. This is isolated territory, dense wilderness, difficult terrain, where modern roads don't reach and the outside world rarely ventures. For generations, the VaDoma have lived here as semi-nomadic hunter-gatherers, speaking their Doma language alongside dialects of Shona, preserving oral traditions stretching back centuries. In this isolation, something remarkable happened. A genetic mutation appeared, a condition called Ectrodactyly. In people born with this condition, the middle 3 toes are completely absent. The 2 outer toes remain but turn inward, creating feet strikingly similar to an ostrich's 2-toed feet. That's why outsiders call them the ostrich-footed or 2-toed tribe. Now, if you're finding this fascinating, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what topic baffles you the most. What mysteries would you like me to research? Your suggestions shape this channel, and I read every comment. Here's what makes this scientifically significant. Ectrodactyly is an autosomal dominant condition, meaning it only takes 1 copy of the mutated gene from one parent for a child to inherit it. It's not recessive. It manifests when present. And because of how the VaDoma community is structured, this single gene mutation appears at rates far higher than anywhere else in the world. Why? The VaDoma follow a strict tribal law. Members cannot marry outside the group. This rule was implemented specifically to prevent the 2-toed characteristic from spreading to other tribes. They recognize this trait as distinctly theirs, something defining their identity as VaDoma people, and they've created social structures to contain it within their community. When a population is isolated and only marries within itself, what scientists call endogamy, the gene pool becomes smaller. Genetic traits that might be rare in larger populations become more common because the same genes keep circulating. The VaDoma aren't experiencing higher rates of ectrodactyly because of their environment or lifestyle. It's purely the mathematics of isolation and a limited genetic pool. In the outside world, ectrodactyly is considered a medical condition requiring intervention, surgeries, therapies. It's viewed through the lens of fixing what's wrong, correcting what's abnormal, helping people adapt to a world built for 5-toed feet. But the VaDoma see it completely differently. To the VaDoma, having 2 toes instead of 5 isn't a disability. It's not something needing fixing. It's simply a variation of being human, specifically, of being VaDoma. A substantial minority of their community has this condition, which means children grow up seeing it, adults live with it, and entire families include members with ostrich feet alongside members with typical feet. It's normalized in a way almost impossible for outsiders to fully comprehend. before we go deeper, I want to say something. If you're still with me, you value stories that challenge perspectives and expand understanding. This channel is still young and growing, and your subscription means the world to me. Please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Your support keeps these stories alive. Here's what researchers have documented. Many VaDoma with Ectrodactyly find it difficult to wear standard shoes. Shoes are designed for 5-toed feet, but they can still climb trees. In fact, some researchers theorize the mutation might provide an adaptive advantage for tree climbing. The 2-toed structure might offer better grip on branches, more flexibility in certain positions, advantages that 5-toed feet don't provide. What we have from anthropologists and researchers who've studied the community consistently reports this. People with Ectrodactyly in the VaDoma community adapt fluidly. They use their feet for climbing, for balance, for all the daily tasks their environment requires. The condition isn't universally disabling within their context. Think about what that means. We assume physical difference equals limitation. But limitation is partly defined by environment and culture. In a world of concrete sidewalks and standardized footwear, 2-toed feet present challenges. But in the Zambezi Valley, in a community built around the terrain and traditions they've always known, those same feet function perfectly well for the tasks that matter. What part of the VaDoma story resonates with you most? Is it the genetics of isolation? The way they've normalized what outsiders view as abnormal? The possibility that this trait might provide advantages? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what's making you think. The VaDoma story isn't unique in showing isolated populations with higher rates of specific genetic traits. We see this pattern worldwide. Island populations, mountain communities, desert tribes. Isolation plus endogamy equals higher expression of genetic variations. But what makes the VaDoma particularly fascinating is how visible this trait is. Ectrodactyly isn't something you can hide. It's immediately apparent, affecting one of the most fundamental aspects of human physicality, how we stand, walk, move through the world. Yet within their community, it hasn't become a source of stigma or discrimination. It simply is. This challenges how we think about disability and difference. In medical anthropology, there's a concept called the social model of disability, which argues that disability isn't inherent in physical difference. It's created by social barriers and attitudes. The VaDoma provide a real-world example of this concept in action. The same feat considered disabling in one cultural context function normally in another. Their isolation has preserved not just a genetic trait, but an entire alternative perspective on what bodies can be and do. And as Zimbabwe modernizes, as roads reach further into remote areas, as the outside world increasingly contacts previously isolated communities, the VaDoma face pressures their ancestors never encountered. Will the tribal law against marrying outsiders persist? As younger generations gain access to education and opportunities beyond the Zambezi Valley, will they maintain these traditions? And if they don't, what happens to the genetic frequency of Ectrodactyly in future generations? These aren't just academic questions. They're about the survival of a unique human community and the knowledge they carry about alternative ways of being in the world. The VaDoma have maintained their cultural identity and traditions precisely because of their isolation. The same geographic remoteness that allowed the Ectrodactyly gene to proliferate also protected their language, oral traditions, and hunter-gatherer practices. You can't separate one aspect of their story from the others. It's all interconnected. This raises uncomfortable questions about progress and integration. When we talk about bringing modern healthcare, education, and economic development to remote communities, we rarely acknowledge what might be lost. The VaDoma's acceptance of Ectrodactyly, their adaptive strategies, their alternative understanding of what feet can be, These are forms of knowledge that exist nowhere else in the world. Once they're gone forever. The VaDoma story isn't just about genetics or medical curiosity. It's about human adaptation, cultural resilience, and the multiple ways of being human that exist beyond what we consider normal. It's about how isolation can preserve both genetic traits and cultural wisdom. And it's about challenging our assumptions about ability and disability. When you think about the VaDoma climbing trees with feet that look like ostrich feet, moving through their environment with confidence and capability, you're witnessing something profound. Humans adapting not by changing their bodies to fit the world, but by creating a world that fits their bodies. If this story has challenged your perspectives or made you think differently about diversity and disability, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Our world contains more ways of being human than we typically acknowledge, and your support helps these stories reach people who need to expand their understanding. Thank you for taking this journey with me to the Zambezi River Valley, to a community that's preserved something unique in human experience. The VaDoma remind us that normal is contextual, that disability is partly social construction, and that human diversity takes forms more beautiful and complex than we typically imagine. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning your assumptions, and keep remembering that the world is far more varied and wonderful than any single perspective can capture.